Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is the post season where I discuss anime after they have finished airing. Too long do we always see what's the most recent thing, and now we need to actually see what happens in the end. What is the good parts? What are the bad parts? What are the good shows? What are the weak shows? The okay shows, the shows that are average, but they get some things right. Gotta point that out. So here we have on the docket right now that I'm going to be talking about this summer 2025 postseason. First one we're talking about is the Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity, or the Japanese name Kaoru Hana wa Rinto Saku. I would say it's notable for its really excellent approach to the romantic genre. A lot of drama, and it's focusing hard on the feelings of the individual characters. The premise of rival schools and opposing types of characters, where like you have characters like Rintaro being a tall blonde guy with ear piercings at a delinquent men's only school, and then his gal pal Kaoruko being short, prim, proper at a prestigious women's only school. Also kind of showing their opposite attitudes, where while Kaoruko often eats, Rintaro is often making stuff, by hence the fact that he makes cakes while she devours them happily. So another thing is that while the actions in the show, and by actions I mean like plot, the events that take place each episode are generally just people talking, or small, not super dynamic actions. Like nobody's punching, right? There's no if there's a punch, well, the first episode there's a punch, but it's one punch and then it's over. And it's not like One Punch Man where it's just the sky splits in half every time Saitama punches. This is just like a dramatic moment. And the thing is that why these aren't, the show is not, how do I say this? It's not putting all the weight on the fact that these things happen. Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity puts a massive amount of effort in micro expressions and storyboarding to make these dramatic moments really just pop, just boom when they hit. Even though, like in many other shows, they aren't super big moments, like characters running after each other. It's not exactly a super important thing. Here, it's the way the lighting hits, the camera work, the music swelling, the eye line of these characters, where they're looking. Amazing close-ups on hands and how they work. Good slow motion. It's a very heavily. Sorry, I'm just swallowing a lot. I'm actually coming off of a cold right now. There's a lot of budget here. Surprisingly, a lot of budget and effort put in when this type of show usually would not carry this. But now here is where I'm going to go into later parts of the show. So while I've given like a general idea of like what is the idea of the story and what the show does well, this is more for the people who go much further in the show. I'm going to call this the season end discussion here. So I'm just going to short this to Flower Blooms. Flower Blooms has a lot of themes regarding boundaries and the tensions between them. The two school gates are obvious boundaries of tension, where both schools are generally like in strong dislike of each other. And when as you go further in the story, you realize it's more one than the other. The boundaries also carry on into other places, but the way it really carries in other places is by the viewpoint of our main character, Rintaro. He carries that boundary not only at school, but he carries it at the library when he decides to study outside while Kaoruko is inside. In fact, when he sees, when he's studying for the exams, I mean, he's just like everyone else. He has just as much right to study in that library as all the other students. He has all the rights to want to get a passing grade. Everybody has that, but he doesn't feel that he belongs there. This ostracization, that he feels shows up when he's sitting down trying to study, and everyone is just also studying, but he doesn't feel that he belongs there. And when he sees two girls coming in looking for chairs in a crowded public library, he just chooses to get up and leave without even saying anything to them. They thank him, and they even thank him again later on when they see him again. But these two girls take their seat. He just leaves without saying anything. So he just doesn't feel that he belongs in that place. He doesn't believe he belongs in bettering himself. And of course, as he's walking out, he sees Kaoruko inside as well. And that further drives him outside. And the events that happen later on in that episode really define that line when Kaoruko's friend also comes in and tries to separate Kaoruko from the delinquent boys of the boys-only school. There's also, there's other boundaries too. At the cake shop, there's the counter between the kitchen and the customers and the tables and the patisserie or pastry shop, I guess. There's the stairs between the shop and Rintaro's home. And finally, there's the beach. Like, each of these locations, Rintaro or Kaoruko, breach those barriers that are delineating their respective roles in society. Like, and I know that's a lot there, but Rintaro, as I mentioned earlier, is dealing with boundaries himself. He is trying to break out of those boundaries, but he finds himself just letting himself be taken over. I mean, he doesn't go to the all-girls school to see Kaoruko. He goes outside the library because he doesn't believe he belongs in there. He stays behind the counter at the pastry shop because he doesn't want to mingle with the customers. He wants to be alone, I guess. But then you see like Kaoruko. She also has these barriers as well. But I can't really go there because the first season is all about Rintaro's barriers, while later on we see Kaoruko's barriers and where she is. The beautiful thing is that if you've seen me all the way to the end, which is super spoiled, this is the time where it's hard spoiler time. The beach is very different because the barrier between them becomes muddled, where the sand and the water are like barriers that warp around each other. They fractalize and become this wet sand, where in a way they are existing at the same time, right? So for these two, Rintaro and Kaoruko, this becomes a very important location for them as we lead on to the next season. But like let's shift over from the barriers, right? We're gonna throw ourselves into a little more interesting theme here. Well, they're all interesting, but a different theme here. Rintaro and cakes. So I want you to imagine this. After watching the first season, Rintaro is basically a cake. Thematically, Flower Blooms is a show about finding the right words to communicate what you want to say, which is, personally for me, is very refreshing because where a lot of these romantic drama anime that come out, there's a lot of forceful misunderstandings, things that just that is just written for the sake of being awful in the moment. Where this show is like, no, I need to specifically say this. I cannot let this hang in the air. If I let it hang in the air, or if there's any misunderstanding, this is going to be bad. And we as people need to communicate, right? That's a beautiful thing. But on the idea of communication, Rintaro is a cake because as in the show, Rintaro's father often explains that making a cake is symbolically communicating to the person eating the cake. So continuing that idea, Rintaro has specifically styled himself with his blonde hair and earrings, and the visual concepts developed at the patisserie. I messed that up. He specifically styled himself with his blonde hair and earrings like he would style a cake, like he draws up a cake. And as the show goes on, there are times where he changes and he restyles himself like the cake that he is. And I guess the other thing is that like cakes generally have layers, right? And so when as Rintaro is like speaking with Kaoruko's friend, I forget her name, and I apologize for that. She realizes, that friend realizes that there is more to Rintaro than just the surface, than the flash that is his blonde hair and earrings and his delinquent attitude. Inside we see in the layers, like a cake, we see he's actually very kind, considerate, and very meek, as opposed to other, like, well, the imaginative, like, idea of what men actually are. But so yeah, while Rintaro works on more cakes, and like he starts to learn how to make cakes, we also see Rintaro grow as a person in tandem with his skills in being able to communicate with others. This ability to communicate with others is something that he just has trouble with. I mean, even in the beginning, the relative beginning, when he starts being friends with Kaoruko, Rintaro cannot communicate with his own friends about him knowing a girl from the other school. He just can't. And it tears himself up. It breaks him, nearly breaks apart the entire friendship with his three other friends. And when he finally gets around to explaining it and talking about it, he realizes that it's all actually just okay. And that is something that people need to, I mean, that's something that people grow into. I mean, when you're in the beginning unable to communicate, I mean, that is something that you've grown up into a person to be. Like, Rintaro is basically an adult. You know, he's a high schooler, but the personality is set. He is just meek and quiet, right? But then being able to communicate and open up is something that takes a lot of time and effort, much like making a cake. So with these thoughts in mind, I'd say like this is a great show that is very much worth the watch. The manga is very well worth reading as well. I enjoyed it. I'm very current on it right now because after I watch a show, I'm like, oh, better freaking read it. And yeah, some great stuff happens too. I mean, oh my gosh, there's a scene way later on, there's no spoilers, but way later on that just made me jump out of bed and like run around the room in just like the most hype moment ever. But yeah, with these in mind, look forward to season 2 whenever that comes out. And I'm sure that I know that the concept of self-growth and through communication and the barriers that are put up amongst all of our characters, the side characters too, will continue as the main themes in the Fragrant Flower Boons of Dignity.